Podcast editing can be extremely time consuming and overwhelming too. In fact, a lot of people don't start their podcast because of the technicalities involved in editing your podcast episodes. But it needn't be that difficult. You can simplify your podcast editing workflow with a little effort. In this video, I will tell you about 7 simple tips that you can use to streamline and simplify your overall podcast editing workflow. Hello and welcome to TPU TV. This is Dilip. If you're new here and you don't know me, then I am an affiliate marketer, podcaster, and blogger. And if you're new to this channel, then this is a channel where I share a lot of simple, practical, and implementable podcasting tips which you can use to get started with your own podcast. And if you're new to podcasting, then you might want to check out my free course on how to start your podcast. You'll be able to find that at the podcastinguniversity.com/free-guide. You'll be able to find a link in the description box below. Go ahead, click the link, and join the free course today itself. Now, for today's topic, simplifying podcast editing workflow. We all know that audio editing, specifically podcast editing, can be extremely overwhelming, time consuming, and a daunting task. And as podcasters, we've all experienced the pain of spending hours to edit our podcast episodes. And we also understand how overwhelming that entire experience can be. But it doesn't have to be this way. By using some very simple techniques, you can streamline your entire editing process and thereby reclaim a lot of the time that you would be putting into editing your podcast episodes, which you can then use into a lot of the other aspects, like, for example, researching your content, researching your guests, reaching out to your guests, and doing a lot of the other aspects that are involved in terms of promoting your podcast. Today, I'm going to show you 7 simple tips, 7 tips that can help you edit your podcast faster and streamline your entire podcast editing process. But before that, why do you really need to streamline your podcast editing process? There are a lot of benefits to streamlining your editing process. The first and the foremost is that you save a lot of time. All said and done, podcast editing is what takes the most time in the entire podcasting workflow. And your podcast editing time could be anywhere between 3 to 4 times of the length of your podcast episode. Now imagine the amount of time that you're putting in if you've recorded an hour long episode for your podcast. You will be able to save a lot of this time if you're able to streamline your podcast editing workflow. You'll be able to save this time, which you can then use on content research, on content promotion, on guest research, guest outreach, and a lot many other things. In fact, you'll also find that there is a lot of time that you'll be able to spend on yourself as well. Number 2, streamlining your editing workflow helps in terms of enhancing your productivity as well. When you've streamlined your process, the pace at which you edit your podcast episodes improves or increases, and you are able to get more done in less amount of time, thereby improving your overall productivity. Number 3, your podcast audio quality will automatically increase. Why? Because you have a systemic approach, you have an organized approach to editing your podcast. There is no chance that you will miss on any of those critical activity like audio normalization, leveling, or noise reduction, and even removing those unwanted pauses and filler words becomes easier for you when you've put together a system in place in order to edit your podcast episodes. Number 4, streamlining your editing process also helps you ensure that you're not overlooking all of those errors and mistakes that happen in your audio files. When you have a well defined editing workflow or a template that you're following, or maybe a checklist that you're following as part of your simplified editing workflow, the chances of errors reduces drastically. Your overall process is much refined and more efficient, thereby getting more quality for your audio. Number 5, it provides you peace of mind. Knowing that you have done everything right in terms of editing your podcast episode gives you the peace of mind that you won't get anywhere else. So, now that we've looked at some of the benefits of streamlining your podcast editing workflow, let's look at 7 simple tips that can help you edit faster and streamline your podcast editing process. Number 1, preparation. prepare and organize your files in advance. You might want to create a folder structure for each episode, an organized folder structure for each episode, which includes separate folders for your raw files, for your music files, for your template, and all of the other assets. Now, when you have an organized folder structure, it is easier for you to find the assets or the files that you're looking at, which overall reduces the amount of time that you'll be putting into your editing process. So ensure that you have planned all of your files in advance, and you also have an organized folder structures so that locating files and using them becomes easier. Having an organized folder structure also helps in using some of these macros as part of automation that is available in pretty much all of the audio editing software. If you want to know how to automate in Audacity, you'll be able to find a video that I had created some time back. You'll be able to find that in the I button up there. Go ahead and check out that video, and you'll be able to learn how to use macros to automate most of the activities in Audacity. Number two, utilize keyboard shortcuts and some of the software features. Now, in Audacity itself, there are a lot of software features that you can use which are hidden, which is not available on the dashboard itself. So you might want to learn a little bit more about the software that you're using and use some of the handy software features that can help you simplify your editing workflow. And don't forget to use keyboard shortcuts, because that helps you save a lot of time that you would otherwise spend by clicking here and there to find some of the functions that you need to use. So ensure that you're using keyboard shortcuts and also learning how to use some of the software features that are hidden. Number three, develop an editing template or a preset. Now, most audio editing softwares gives you this option of putting together a template or creating a template with some of the most commonly used functions, like for example, compression, equalization, leveling, and all of these. In Audacity also, you can put together a template, which is pretty easy to do. When you put together a template, it becomes easy for you to edit your episode because it replaces a lot of the manual processes that you would otherwise be spending a lot of time to do. If you want to learn how to put together a template in Audacity, then you can check one of the videos that I created some time back. You'll be able to find that in the I button here. Go ahead and check out that video. Creating a template on Audacity is extremely easy, and once you've done that, it simplifies your entire editing process and saves you a lot of time. Number four, use markers or timestamps for taking notes. Now, markers or timestamps will help you identify specific sections in your audio which you might want to go back to in terms of editing, removing mistakes, or even maybe adding some background effects or audio enhancements. So all of these things can easily be tracked if you are able to put together a marker or a timestamp at those particular points. Now in Audacity, you can use a label track to do that, and it is pretty simple to do that. If you're not sure how to use a label track on Audacity, you'll be able to check one of the videos that I'd created some time back where I show you how to put together a label track and use it for editing. Number five, automate repetitive tasks like that of compression, audio normalization, leveling, etc. Most audio editing software help you automate a lot of the repetitive activities, and automating can save you a lot of time that you would otherwise spend in terms of doing all of these repetitive tasks individually. And pretty much all DAWs have this feature. It is just that you need to learn how to go about automating it, and in most of the cases it is a simple macro, recording a macro, which can help you automate most of the processes. It is the same in Audacity as well. You'll be able to record a lot of macros for these repetitive activities on Audacity. I'd created a video some time back. You'll be able to check out that video in the I button here. Go ahead and check that video out if you're looking at automating activities on Audacity. Number six, batch editing. Now, just like batch recording, batch editing also has a lot of benefits. What it also helps is in speeding up the entire editing process, because you are setting aside a specific time on a specific day in a specific week to edit all of your podcast episodes. And when you are into that editing mode, you're already in that groove where you know what are the assets that you want to use, what are the features that you're looking at, what are the edits that you want to do. So you're already in that groove, which makes the entire process much faster, and you will be able to edit more number of episodes in less time. So I always recommend batch editing, just like you would do batch recording, if you want to edit more number of episodes in less amount of time. And seventh and the last, outsource or delegate tasks. Now, if your budget allows and if you have the budget, then consider hiring an editor or maybe an outsourced team member who can help you with the editing process. Now, editing is a monotonous process, and it is a time consuming process. So if you're able to outsource it or hand it over to somebody else who can help you with editing, then it can save you a lot of time that you can invest in promoting your podcast and doing a lot of content research. So if your budget allows, then look at outsourcing your editing activity to somebody else. Editing takes anywhere from 3 to 4 times of the length of your podcast episode, like what I said a little while back. Now, the process can be extremely monotonous, boring, and overwhelming. But you can make it interesting and swift if you spend a little time and effort in putting together a process and a system that can simplify the entire podcast editing workflow. These simple tips that I shared today can help you do that. Implement these strategies, and you will see that you've saved a lot of time and have improved productivity. And at the same time, you'll also be able to improve the overall audio quality of your podcast episodes. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then do give this video a thumbs up so that others are able to find this video. If you liked what I shared today, then you might want to subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to click the bell notification so that you stay updated with all of the latest videos that I release. If you're new to podcasting and are planning to get started with your own podcast, then you might want to join my free 10-day e-course on how to start a podcast. You'll be able to find a link to the course in the description box below. Go ahead and join the course today. That is all that I have for today's video. I'll be back again the next week with another interesting podcasting related discussion. Until then, keep watching TPU TV. This is goodbye from Dilip.